Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the NBA-SBL Business Law Weekly Series. The topic for today's session is Connect with Clients, Powerful Strategies for Networking in the New Era. My name is Fumi Osemobo, and I'll be moderating today's session. So we all know how over the last 3 years, the world has changed in so many different ways. I think for me as a lawyer, one of the things that I realized and that came to me very clearly during the pandemic is how there was an emphasis on relationships, on building connections, right? And so even though we're all supposed to be like great technical lawyers and know all the law, I think over the last few years, we've seen it needs to be a bit more personal in our dealings with our clients. And of course, we know that, our clients are very important to us. That's the reason as lawyers why we do what we do. And so it's a very important topic. And even though I know that everyone on this webinar will have something to say about this topic, it's always best to have an expert speak to us about these kinds of issues. And that's why I'm very pleased that for today's session, we have speaking to us, Faizin Amlani. Faizin is an excellence coach, and she currently works with Excellent Consulting in the United Kingdom. But she's had a very diverse career. And as part of that career, she was a director at FBI Attorneys. And that's a leading Tanzanian law firm. In her role at that law firm, she was responsible for relationship management, client liaison and coaching and personal development. And she was instrumental to the firm's significant growth and its climb to top tier rankings. And so I'm very interested in hearing what Faizin has to say. And just before I hand over to her, I'll just say that we'd like for this to be an interactive session. So please share your experiences, let us know your comments, ask questions in the Q&A. We'll try and read out as many as we can during the session. But Faizin has also promised that she will put up a link so that you can connect with her after the session and on an ongoing basis. So with that said, I'll hand over to Faizin. Thank you, Faizin.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to speak today. It's a real honor and privilege. And it's been a fantastic opportunity to work with Dr. himself, and I'm really pleased that he asked me to come and talk about my favorite topic, connecting with clients. So without much of further ado, let's get started. A little bit of, let's see. If we can just make sure that everyone is ready, if they want to take any notes, they've got their notebook, if they've got their drinks, the phone is on silent so that we can all be present together. So thank you for the introduction. So yes, I'll just tell you a little bit more about FB Attorneys and the work that I did with them, just to give you some context. FB Attorneys was a small boutique law firm when I started back in 2012 with about 20 or so lawyers, an all-service firm with a handful of international clients, maybe one relationship firm, Magic Circle law firm, band 4 in Chambers, tier 3 in IFLR, and not yet in the Legal 500. So if you look at my background, I come from a post-conflict background where I did work with the NGOs and UN in restoring education in war-torn countries. So really no corporate experience prior to joining FB Attorneys. I had a year with McKinsey, but even that was a social project that they were asking me to lead, and really no legal interest, nor any interest in learning about the law. So I came in fresh into the legal sector with FB Attorneys. And we created this role. So we really had no idea where this was going. We had no expectations. We just started going out there and meeting people, and lo and behold, through interactions, building connections, traveling, and relationships and being helpful to clients, potential clients, things started to change at the firm. We started to see a growth in the number of international clients that we were servicing. Magic Circle law firms. I started to build relationships with all of the Magic Circle law firms based out of the UK, in London, Paris, Dubai, even the US. All the big names, HSF, Freshfields, Hogan Lovells, Baker McKenzie, Allen & Overy, Eversheds, the list goes on. And from Chambers, we went from band 4 to band 1, IFLR tier 3 to tier 1, Legal 500, tier 1. And it was a very, very exciting time for us because we saw this growth. You know, the international clients were growing, not only in Tanzania, but across the region. So representation really took it to mean that FB Attorneys became the leading law firm within Tanzania and beyond. So around 2017, 2018, I said, look to the managing partner. I said, unless you want to expand out into the region, I really can't take you any further. And he said to me, look, Faizan, it's hard to get to the top, but it's harder to stay there. So we need you to maintain our status quo. So we looked at the website, we looked at our social branding, we looked at, you know, what updates or publications we were sending out to our clients. We really invested a lot of time, a lot of effort, you know, money into strengthening some of these areas and making sure that we created sustainable and consistent action points going forward, so that when I did leave, they were in a good place to continue and things would not fall apart. And I'm quite proud to say that, you know, that they've been doing very well since I left in July. So that's a little bit about me and my role with FB Attorneys. Now, quickly, I just want to ask all of you, because this is a very interesting question. What is networking? You know, really, what does networking mean to you? If people can just quickly put on I think it's the chat, right, that we're using. If people can quickly put on the chat, what does networking mean to you? And just whatever word comes to mind, you know, just don't think about it too much. Just brainstorm within yourself that what does networking mean to you? We all have so many different perceptions of what networking means. So can I see some, are you all there? Relationships, good, keep them coming. Oh, brilliant, purposefully meeting new people, socializing, connecting with like-minded people, yep, connectivity, meeting new people, exchanging contacts, relationships, yep, interacting, building relationships, genuine friendships, I like that, yeah. Without business expectations, good, engagement, links, excellent, reliable web of people, yeah, and firms you can work with, yes. Important also to network with other law firms, which we often forget. Yes, knowledge, it's about learning and sharing and growing. Good afternoon, Francis. Exploring opportunities, absolutely. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? And we don't know who knows who knows who. Offering value, thank you, being helpful. It's not always just about getting and gaining. It's about giving and offering and sharing as well. Thank you so much. Right, I'm going to minimize the chat. So yes, you know, networking is so many of these things and more. And I think sometimes we have this perception in our minds that networking is we go out there and we are looking to sell, and we are trying to, you know, close a client or close a deal. And that's what makes us anxious when we go out to networking events, because we feel that we have an agenda, right? That we are on a mission to bring something back. But actually, it's about what we can also offer. It's about connecting people. It's about sharing. It's about opportunity. It's about growing, right? So it's so much more than just meeting a client or closing a deal. And I think once we start to change our mindsets and perceptions of what is networking, how can we be helpful within a networking scenario, and how can others help us then it makes it a little bit more comfortable. Right, we're going to come back to this slide because I'll be sharing lots of tips and tricks for you, but really it's all about you. We are unique individuals with unique characteristics, unique personalities, and unique traits. So you need to embed, you need to understand where are your strengths, where are your skills, and do it your way, okay? Now, these are some of the networking areas that, you know, some of you may already be engaging in socializing and talking about what you do and the firm that you work with in some of these groups. And others, surprisingly, they don't. And it always amazes me that why we don't talk more about what we do and the firm that we work for. So we have all of these different social networks and social communities that already exist, right? These are all platforms that we already have. Our alumni, our friends, our social clubs, the ranking agencies, right? How many of you actually go and socialize and connect with editors of these ranking agencies, other lawyers at other firms, right? Are we fearful of them, or do we go to them and embrace those relationships? The Nigerian Bar Association, how many of you guys all know each other? How much have you guys networked with each other, right? Some of us go to church, some of us go to mosque. How much do we use those opportunities and those networks and communities to really, really talk about who we are and where we come from and the work that we do and the value that we offer? And how many of us actually use those to connect other people, right? Often we go and drop our kid to school and we have no idea that we're standing next to, you know, the wife of the MD of Total, or, you know, somebody who's sitting on a chair for an executive board we've been trying to get into for years. And, you know, they say that there are 6 degrees of separation. In Africa, it's probably 3. Within Nigeria, it's probably 2, right? Who you know is going to know somebody that you want to know. So be that person who's always networking and smiling and building relationships and being helpful and offering. You know, often with me, it's so much about those relationships. I came in with my social personality and I grew the network because of those relationships in every element of my life, right? It's not just, okay, I'm only going to network at a networking event. I'm only going to network at an IBA or the mining indaba. It expands and it is an integral part of all these sections of our life. And I think that's very important to remember. Okay, so as we just talked about in the introduction that yes, we had COVID, and you can be experts in your field. You can be a tax expert, an immigration expert, labor, litigation, but you know, relationships and building connections, that personal touch is super, super important. And COVID really, really played a part in disrupting that, right? So many of us, you know, working from home was such a new concept. How do we stay in touch with our clients when we're working from home? How do we do online networking? How do I sort my Zoom out? You know, what is a good angle? What is the right setting, the background? All of these things were very, very new to us. And a lot of us became anxious in that. And now we're sort of moving into the more hybrid. People are now sort of going back out there and networking. So there's been a lot of change, a lot of disruption, and we need to recognize that, and we need to accept that it's been challenging and hard for so many of us. And then again, you know, really looking at the ease of building those relationships and remembering that everybody has been through it, not just you, not just myself, not just the firm. We have all gone through this extraordinary experience. So we have to be kind to ourselves as well. But as a result of the big disruption, there have been lots of different things that have been coming up along the way to do with tech. And I guess the biggest one right now is AI. You know, and this is taking over the world. And we have to stay ahead of the game. It's not enough to be able to stay updated, but we have to be ahead of the game. We need to know what's coming. Even with your clients, you need to be able to preempt their problems. You need to be able to understand your clients and understand the market, and really go above and beyond in meeting those client expectations and really making them feel that you get it, right? That you are there for them, that you are the trusted lawyer that they have invested in, okay? The question is, are you leveraging your existing network? Today we're here talking about, connecting, but do you guys know the power of what you already have? Right? We just talked about all of these different areas and social communities. Are you leveraging your network, your existing network, all of the people that you know that you've connected with on LinkedIn? Are you connecting further with your family members, your friends, your community members, your parents' clubs, your fitness buddy or your trainer or whoever it is? One of my really good friends used to be the porter at the Hyatt Hotel in Tanzania. And I used to also make friends with lots of PAs at offices because, country directors, MDs, expats, they will come and go. The PAs, I've known PAs that have been in their position for over 20 years. And they're the ones that will call me up and say, you know what, Faison, we've got a new MD coming in. I can set up a meeting for you, right? Build these relationships. The porter at the Hyatt, he would often send me a message to say, look, there's a delegation from Uganda coming in. You might want to be around. Or there's this minister coming in. Or there's this event or function going on at the hotel. And I would always kind of be in the vicinity, right? You don't know where you're going to get help from people, or you don't know what information is going to come up that's going to be useful to you at that time. So look at your existing network and ask yourself, am I leveraging the power of these connections of my existing network? And then we think about, the new networks and how you are going to be leveraging those as well. Okay. Right, so we talk about being the rainmaker. What does it mean to be the rainmaker? Again, if you can go to the chat, what does it mean to be the rainmaker? Any idea what that means? What does it mean to be a rainmaker for the firm, for yourself? Has anyone come across this word before? Make it happen. Yeah. Solution provider. One that brings in the paying clients. Yeah. Business development. Yeah. Yes. Bringing in business. Bringing in the big bucks, right? I always, when I do my classes, I always do this sign, right? There's one of those songs, show me the money, right? Show me the money, show me the money, make it rain, make it rain. Someone who makes big business come in, yeah? And while you're putting your comments on the chat, who do you think is responsible within your firm to be the rainmaker? Who is that person? Is it yourself? We all are. Thank you. Yeah. And who is the rainmaker? Folake, I hope I've pronounced your name. Our team. Yeah. Anyone, right? The one who achieves. Yes. You can identify who has certain skills and expertise and make that person be the one who is rainmaking. Yeah. So pretty much the entire team can be a rainmaker. And I think gone are the days where, you might have certain people within the firm that is responsible for going out and bringing business. It is an integral part of a lawyer's job now, the responsibility of all of us and the accountability to be the rainmaker, okay, in every scenario. So when you are going out there, when you are catching a plane and you're waiting at the airport, you might engage in conversation with somebody. You might see somebody at a coffee shop, when you're going to the gym. you're always wearing that hat, and it should be a comfortable hat, right? And the conversation will always take you to, well, you know, it's a natural conversation. Oh, you know, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? And that is the opportunity to tell them what you do. And you don't need to be boring about it, but this is being a rainmaker. It is always wearing the rainmaker's hat. It is an integral part of your role to be networking all the time, because you never know what will come, when it will come, and you never know who you are speaking to, who this person knows, right? So there's always opportunity. So be the rainmaker for your firm. Be the rainmaker for yourself, okay? For some of us, when you hear me talking about this, or when you have conversations within your own law firms about bringing in business, networking, being the rainmaker, it is very uncomfortable, because you guys were never trained in law school on how to market, how to do business development, how to network, right? Like I said, you are experts in your field. That is the comfort zone, okay? And some of us choose to stay in that comfort zone. But if you do decide to stay in that comfort zone, then that's all you will be, is in your comfort zone. If you decide, no, I'm going to shake things up, I'm going to try this being a rainmaker business and going out there and networking, this is then the windy road, which is really where the magic happens. And the idea is that we just need to get comfortable with being a little bit uncomfortable. And you know what will happen? You won't be uncomfortable anymore. That will be the new comfort zone for you. And then you'll be pushing yourself even further. All right? So choose the road, the windy road. Get out of your comfort zone and make it happen. Go out there and make it rain. Because you know what? You can do it. And you just need to believe, and you need to have that confidence. And you need to stop fearing and being anxious, because everybody is in the same boat. You know, somebody wearing a title of MD or the CEO of a bank, we're all people. We're all people. We're all the same. Okay. And in the same way that we want to go out there and network with clients, people want to come and network with you. So we're all in this mix together. I come back here to really doing it your way. You find your style, you find your rhythm, you find your pace. You do what works for you. If it means wearing a beautiful Nigerian necklace so that you stand out a little bit, do it. Okay? If it means talking about, a varying sort of topic of discussion that you are quite knowledgeable on, or that you are interested in, or you think somebody else is interested in, do it. Look at yourself first. Find out, what are your skills? Where do you shine? And take that shining beacon into the networking event with you. Because trust me, they will see you. If you come across confident, if you come across with the right posture, the right attitude, with a smile on your face, as opposed to being in the corner of the room and kind of, being closed off with your body, body posture, your image, how you come across, this all is extremely important in networking, and how approachable you are. So find what works with you. Go out there, practice with your friends, practice within your communities, and see what works and what doesn't, and what areas you can improve on. And do it your way. Like I said, you are unique. There is nobody else like you out there. So, opportunities are absolutely out there. The question is, are you ready? Okay? Or are you going to let these opportunities pass you by? There might be some of you who are attending the Mining in Durban next week. Are you ready? Right? And what does it mean to be ready? So now, like I was saying, the whole disruption and the time over the COVID period, there has been a lot of advancement in technology. We've talked about AI, and We are really looking into the chat GPT and the prompts and how to use that so that for law firms, they really, really benefit from this. But look at your CRM. You know, how many law firms actually have invested in software to manage their relationships, to manage their contacts, right? This is a software that every law firm must have so that you're not overwhelmed with all your business cards. And having a CRM is not just about contact management. You can also share a lot of information. So for example, if one of you have had a meeting with, with a big bank, and 6 months later, another lawyer wants to go and have a follow-up, they can always go to the CRM and put the name of the client in, and lots of notes from that previous meeting will come up. You can store files confidentially onto the CRM. You can create invoices on there. There's a lot you can do with software. If you just take the time to learn what they can do for you, they will save you hours and hours and hours of work. So go and learn about some of these apps, go and learn about some of these software, and let them help you. Let them be the tool to assist you in going further with your connections. And so you're not always scrambling that, who did I meet and what was the name of that person and who else works in that law firm and who's the finance guy in that organization and who and what and where's that we waste so much time, right? Minutes count for us. You guys are all on billable hours, so those minutes are critical. So invest in technology, invest in software so that they can help you, right? And manage your clients, manage your business cards. And it's very important to train the team then, once you have the software, to train the team on how to input the data correctly. The last thing you want is for people to be putting it in with spelling mistakes, because that is just a nightmare to solve. Okay, so look at the options you have for technology. Look at softwares that can manage your contacts and manage your clients well. Right, so we talk about networking, okay? We think about networking as going out there and meeting and greeting and being helpful and the opportunities and what we learn. But there's a lot of networking that goes on while we are even sleeping. What does that mean? That means time zones are different. You might be sleeping, you might be having your dinner. People are always going to be searching for you online. How do you show up online? How does your firm show up online? Are you easy to find? What is your message? Is it consistent with your branding? Are your photographs consistent across all of your social media platforms? Or do you have a very professional image on LinkedIn and then a half-naked one on Facebook? Okay, all of it counts. What does your WhatsApp profile picture look like? Nobody now is going to wait. Gone are the days when you had time to prepare your office, to bring some lovely Nigerian delicacies to present to your clients, get suited and booted, welcome your clients, your guests into your office, take them to the boardroom, have the AC on. There's no time for that now, right? They are going online and they are looking for you online. So how are you showing up online? How are you presenting yourselves online? What are people reading about you online? Okay, and how easy is it to navigate your way around your website? We've had quite a few law firms come to us and say, look, Faizan, can you just come and review our website and see, can you find things easily? Is it easy to access? Is it easy to move around? It's critical that you spend time investing in these social media platforms and your website, because like we said at the beginning, we are in a globalized world now, and there is no time. The time is now. You need to invest in all of these things now. People will be looking at you from China. People will be looking at you from the US, from the UK, right? So you need to be present, and you need to be present and look good online, not just offline. So take that time and make sure you look the part. on your website, on your LinkedIn, your about us, how is your write-up, how is your profile, and is it singing in harmony with the other lawyers at the firm? At FB Attorneys, we actually invested in doing a whole photo shoot for all of us. We were color-coded, we did our makeup nicely, we went to a hotel, the backdrop was all the same. And now when you go onto our website, you see a really classy website that moves seamlessly, and you can find your way around very well. Right? So ask yourself, what do people see when they go looking for you? If they are looking for a tax consultant, if they're a tax lawyer, if they are looking for litigation, what do they see when they get there? Are they going to be frustrated and say, oh, for God's sake, I can't find what I'm looking for. I'm just going to go look for another law firm? Because that's easy, right? They can just Google another law firm. They go to Chambers, they go to IFLR, they look for other law firms. So you want to be that go-to law firm, right? So make sure you invest time so that when people are networking while you're sleeping, they get the right information. Again, be prepared. Now, this is something that, is very basic and seems very sort of like, oh, Faizan, we all know that, but sometimes we don't. Do we have our business cards up to date? Do we have enough of them when we're going to these events like the Mining in Durban? How many times have I met people who have run out of their business cards, or oh, well, I haven't updated my number. If you just let me write my correct number on the back. Why do you want to do all of that and make yourself look like a nuisance? And these days we have the QR code on the phone. So do you have enough battery on your phone? Is everything all charged up? Do you have your lippy that, and if you, I don't know, when you go to these events, I mean, I'm a big foodie, so I will always go for the food table, right? So make sure that if you're going to eat something and it's got a little bit of garlic, do you have a fresh, breath freshener, or maybe one of your clients has a little bit of a smelly breath, you might want to offer them around. You don't know, right? It's hot in Africa. Are you carrying, a deodorant with you? You've got to think about all of these things. Have you got your hanky, your tissue? Because, people will be drinking, people will be eating. And, the number of times I've seen people wipe the back of their hands, on their trousers to get a business card, or I've seen people with food stuck in between their teeth. You want to present well, right? It's about professional etiquette and personal etiquette. Look after yourself and come across professional in that you want to be remembered, but you want to be remembered for the right thing, not, oh yeah, I met that lawyer from that firm and boy, did he have smelly breath, right? That's not how we want to be remembered. Look your best. Right? Every lawyer should have your go-to cocktail dress, your dark blue, your grays, your black suits, business casual. What does that mean? Do your research. When you get the invitation, make an effort to see what is the dress code, right? We have, in Tanzania, we have the British High Commission that always has a lot of events, and they have grass there. Now, you know that, so there's no point wearing your best heels if your heel is going to sink into the grass, okay? So these things take a little bit of time, but the efforts go a long, long way because you want to be comfortable. So make an effort to look your best. Make sure that when you open that cupboard, you do have a few items that you can wear when you attend some of these events, when you are sitting down at your Zoom call, if you're showing your nails that they're not half painted. All of these things count, and people remember you. And when people remember you, they will connect with you. And that's exactly what we are talking about today, is connecting and leveraging those connections. Be strategic. Have your networking goals. When you go to these networking events, you should have an objective. You should have a goal. I used to go and say, right, I'm not leaving this event until I meet with the MD of Serengeti Brewers. I'm going to meet with the MD of Vodacom, because I've studied the guest list. I know the host. I've reached out to the host. I've asked them, can you share the guest list? I've been strategic. I know exactly who I want to meet. I've done my research. I've looked them up on LinkedIn. right? If you're going to attend a webinar, if you're going to attend a conference, do some research, find out a little bit about the speakers, go onto their LinkedIn, read about them so that you can bring that up in conversation, right? Be strategic. Where are you going with this? Is the mission just to collect as many business cards as possible? Is the mission is that you want to make sure that you leave with a date in hand with the MD of Vodacom? What is your mission? What is your goal? What is your networking objective? Be strategic. Wingman, I love this. Wingman, wingwoman. Hopefully most of you have enough lawyers within your law firms that you can play wingman or wingwoman. And it's great to strategize with each other. And you know, it's wonderful when somebody talks about you. When someone says, oh, have you met my colleague? Or, doctor over there, he's amazing in the mining and oil and gas, and he's an expert in his field. It's so much better when you hear it from somebody else rather than when you talk about yourself, that I am really good at this, or I can do this, or I can do that. So have your wingman. They might be able to introduce you to people that you don't know. You might be able to introduce them to people that they don't know. And you can always use each other to check in the evening. So if you do feel a bit anxious, if you do feel a bit uncomfortable, if you're not that sure about going to a networking event, at least you know you have a friend there that you could check in at night. Maybe your wingwoman will tell you, look, you've got a little bit of food in your teeth, you might want to go to the bathroom and just kind of like check upon yourself. You can help each other in so many ways. And cross-selling. How many of us, it happened to us in FB attorneys as well, that for some reason we were seen as tax specialists. For other clients, we were seen as litigation specialists. That's because we are not cross-selling. We are working in silos, right? So there are some clients that will only bring us tax work. There are some clients that will only come to us when there's a litigation issue. But our job is to cross-sell, right? That client should be giving us all of the work. Why are they only giving us tax work and taking labor and other M&A work to another law firm? So it's important for us to cross-sell. We are marketing for the entire law firm, not just for our department or our sector. Now, you come into a situation, or maybe some of you have heard of the elevator pitch, the 60-second value statement. So if you imagine you're at a hotel, you go into a lift. I keep referring to Vodacom, so we'll stick with that. The MD of Vodacom, you've been trying to clinch a meeting with him for years. And he walks into the elevator and he presses the 10th floor. You have 10 floors to impress and knock his socks off, so that when he walks out of the elevator, he is going to be thinking about you, and he's going to be saying to himself, I need to know that person more. I want to sit with that person. I want to learn more about what they do. And if I ever have a legal problem, this is the person and this is the firm that I will go to. How are you going to do that? By introducing yourself and saying, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm a tax consultant, and I'm here to solve all your tax problems, is not going to cut it. You have a wealth of experience. You have so much to say about yourself and about the firm, and it's like a funnel. You have to narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down until you get to that 60-second pitch. Your value statement is critical. Be brief, be dynamic, get to the point, focus on the essentials. Who are you? What do you do? What value do you bring? And what do you want? And before they walk out that door, make sure you have closed the deal. What that means is there has to be a call to action. Are you going to be calling them? Are you going to be meeting them for coffee? Are you going to be meeting them for lunch? What is the call to action? Okay, and this needs practice. When we have our Networking Ninja Masterclasses, we practice the value statement. We practice the elevator pitch until you get it right and that you are comfortable to recite it in your sleep with your eyes closed and your hands tied. And this will make you stand out above and beyond the rest. Right, so which events to attend? Look, for me, It's about not being out of sight and out of mind, and being in sight and in mind. But, you know, you're all busy lawyers, so sometimes you do have to look at and go through some of the events and identify, okay, well, I'm going to go to these events. Maybe this colleague of mine is going to go to another event. Maybe we'll hook up here later. But, you know, places like the IBA, the Mining Indaba, outside of the region, you might want to look at, you know, every time you travel, make an effort. So, for example, if any of you lawyers go to London, go and look out the editor for Chambers, for IFLR, for Legal, meet them for coffee. I used to meet them for coffee all the time. It's amazing what you can learn from them on how to fill out these forms, on how to shift your ranking. Go and seek these people out, meet with other lawyers, meet with other law firms. And that's outside of your region. Within your region, there might be lots of business chambers events that you can go to. It's always nice to be seen, because you never know when a client or a potential client will need a law firm. And what you want is that the day that they do, that you are the first person, the first law firm that they think of. Okay, so this does take a little bit of time to really decipher which events you feel that are useful for you, and research and see where do your ideal client list, which networking events do they go to, and just make sure that you're there. Have a plan. Okay, so this goes back to the strategy. When you see conversations going on, or even when you are online attending a webinar and there's breakout rooms, what is your entry strategy? How are you going to enter that conversation? There's a group of people, you can see the guy that you want to speak to. Now, how am I going to be a smooth, you know, I want to be smooth, I want to enter gracefully. What are going to be some of my icebreaker conversation topics? What am I going to talk about? How am I going to close? How am I going to exit? All of these things are going to decide whether or not you have a potential meeting with that client, or whether that client is going to come to your office, or whether that client is going to think about you the next time they have a legal problem. And so these are some of my go-to conversation starters. For me, like I said, I'm all about food. I talk about food all the time. And, you know, you can talk about, when I was in Tanzania, I talked about Zanzibar a lot, but very much more on the social types of conversations. I would stay away from any controversial areas, politics, maybe football, keep it light. But if there are industry news or current topics, then, and if you feel comfortable, for example, talking about AI because it's like taken over, then get into those conversations. Okay. And, you know, when you are having these conversations, yes, you are a lawyer. Yes, you are from a law firm, but you don't need to talk about that. It's boring. Let's face it. Talking about law is boring. Okay. So when you talk about food, they might say to you that, oh, I've got my family coming over. Any ideas on where I should take my family for this holiday? Any ideas where I can send my daughter to school? Any ideas of a good restaurant I can go to? And I tell you not, believe me or not, 99% of clients that came to FB attorneys came because this is how the conversation went. And they told me, you remember Faizin? You know, we met Faizin at that event. Remember, she was the one that introduced us to the GM of that Zanzibar, that hotel in Zanzibar. We had an amazing time at that hotel. Doesn't she work for a law firm? Let's get in touch with her. Remember Faizin? Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think Fumi has been trying to signal to you that you have...
Oh, 5 minutes. Okay.
Now it's 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Remember the school that she advised us to send our kid to, and she's having such an amazing time. Doesn't she work for a law firm? Let's get in touch with her. So they remember me, not because I've talked about my work at FB Attorneys. They remember me because I was helpful. I added value. I got into personal conversation and I referenced that. Follow up. This is where majority of law firms and the international firms have told me this point blank, right? The African law firms do not follow up. They do not respond to emails in a timely manner. I am sorry, but you are now in a globalized world. You have your phones, your smartphones. There is no excuse to not respond to emails and not to follow up and follow up. And even if you don't get a response from that MD or that CEO, that's okay. They have 100 emails coming in. You keep going. When are we having that lunch date? When are we meeting for coffee? We'd love to host you at the office. Manage your relationships, okay? Use that CRM. Let it help you to manage your relationships. I'm going to quickly speed by. Smile and have fun. You've got to smile, right, when you're doing this. And there we are. Now, look, this is a huge, huge topic, and I have very quickly skimmed through some of the tips and tricks that I use. But of course, there's a wealth of information. There's a whole section on just how to fill out the Chambers forms. So they will put up the link that you can share your email address. If there's any questions, if there's any more information that you would like, I'm happy to share that with you. I hope I have stayed on time. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Faith. Yes, you actually kept the time. Well done. So can everyone please put their questions in the Q&A tab? So I'll read the one question we have right now. And that's from Obadiah. Obadiah is asking, what's the difference between advertising, which is not accepted in law practice, and branding of law firms?
Okay, so yes, even in Tanzania, we were not allowed to advertise, right? So how did we get ourselves across? You have to think outside of the box. One example, and Bayaz, the managing partner, was very clever in doing this. Our office was opposite the Serena Hotel, and as you drive out of Serena Hotel, he has this image of FB attorneys. So even though it was, so I think the difference between advertising is really going out there and saying, we are a law firm, this is what we do, call us if you have a problem. But if you do it in a way that is not considered advertising, and first of all, it's very important, excuse me, to clarify what is advertising. What are the legal connotations of what is advertising? So we used to have this really nice concrete the stand that said FB attorneys, which we were allowed to do. Now, in some countries that would be called advertising, but in Tanzania it wasn't. So I think first it's to understand and differentiate, but thinking outside of the box. So we used to send a Q&A every Monday, a Q&A with FB attorneys. So you would see the branding, you would see the name, but it wasn't advertising because we were adding value, we were sharing information. We were answering questions from the public, legal questions. And branding is all about when people go and find you online. You have to have a brand, you have to have something that is going to remind them. So for example, now what you're looking at my screen, Networking Ninja, that is a brand, right? It is my job now to make you think of Networking Ninja. Whenever you think about connecting clients, you'll think, oh yeah, remember Faison's class, Networking Ninja, the red and black. That is a brand. It's not advertising. It is how, it's your symbol. It's how people remember you, remember the firm, and it has to be consistent throughout. I hope that's helped in answering the question.
Yes, it has. And we have a couple more questions. Someone has asked, what do you do when you're struggling with not knowing what to say to continue a conversation?
Oh, that's a brilliant one. So I guess it all depends on the situation, of course, right? And I did want to mention personalities because a lot of people believe that only extroverts can be amazing networkers, and that's not true. Introverts can also be, actually even more so, because introverts have amazing listening skills, whereas extroverts just want to talk. And clients love to talk. So it's good to have those listening skills. And I think if you find yourself in a situation, what I normally do is, if I can see somebody that I know, I will bring them into the conversation to introduce them. So now I've connected them with someone else. It takes a little bit of the pressure off me. If I'm in a group and I feel like the conversation has got a little bit sour, I may look at my exit strategies that, oh, I just need to take this call, or I'm just going to go and get a drink, or I'm just going to use the washroom, and then I come back and I restart the conversation. So you really need to gauge, and in the Networking Ninja Masterclass, we go through examples of strategies of when you find yourself in that situation. But I think you really need to gauge the situation and in the moment, to see what is the right thing to do. But those are some of my go-to strategies when I have found myself in a little bit of a pickle. And I always do have prepared conversation starters with me before I go to any event. So I'm never stuck.
Okay, all right, thank you. That answers Frida's question, but Frida is asking what happens to lawyers who are naturally shy. There's a question from
yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
Look, if you are naturally shy, you can be the wallflower, and you can be the one that sits at the edge. But you know what? There'll be other introverts there, and it's amazing because I did that once when I wasn't feeling comfortable at the Mining Indaba last year when we were all coming out of COVID. I'm normally the one that's in the middle of all the conversations, but this time I found myself sitting on the sidelines, and it was so interesting that other introverts came to me. And we kind of had our own little chit chat going on. And then all of a sudden we were the social hub that people wanted to be part of, right? So you can be shy. And the good thing about, when you are shy, your listening skills are enhanced. But don't forget that you can, if you are an expert in your field, you also have the opportunity to host a webinar and invite people to you. That's another way of connecting. So that's what I mean by saying, look at your strengths, look at your skills. I'm shy, but I'm an expert in tax. Okay, I'm going to connect with clients in a different way. I'm going to write an article. I'm going to send out a publication. I'm going to invite a small group to learn about my area of practice. You can do that.
Okay, thank you. So Dafenone is asking, how do you sell your services to a stranger who has no reason to use such services?
Never. If you have learned anything, I hope this question has not come after I finished the presentation, because if you learn anything today, it is you are not going out there to sell. Please take this concept out of your head. You will not move past, you will just not move if you take this idea with you. You are going out there to offer, to add value, to give people an opportunity to learn about who you are. You are going out there to connect, to build a relationship. It is not about selling. That will come, trust me. First, build your relationship. When they need legal services, they will come to you. They will not come to you if you sound desperate and you are trying to sell. They will come to you because they remember you, because of the impression that you have left them.
Okay, so the questions are coming fast and furious. I think I should just say right away that we have that link and Rex keeps posting it in the chat function so that you can connect with Phasing afterwards, because I'm mindful of time. We may not be able to answer all the questions. So please connect with Phasing. I will be connecting with Phasing because I have a lot of questions to ask her. But so there are two more questions I'll just read and then maybe try and wrap things up. Chinwe is asking, how do you build a rapport with HNIs as a younger person that can lead to sustainable relationships?
How do you build a relationship with
high net worth individuals?
Oh, high net worth.
As a younger person, yes, that can.
Yeah, look, let me tell you, when I started, okay, so I'm not that young anymore, but younger when I started, but more, I'm talking about young from an experience point of view, okay? So not age-wise, but like I said, when I started in the industry, I had no real corporate experience or legal experience. And I had a few missions of my own. One of them was to clinch BG. BG was huge in Tanzania at the time, and they were with Clyde & Co. And a lot of it is like, I have to be honest, I wanted to get one up on them, right? Come on, let's face it. I want to beat them at their own game, right? So BG was one of I had to get them, and I was just going crazy. And I remember meeting the VP. And when I met him, I was introduced to him to a cocktail event. And, he was so down to earth that we became friends, and we were on first name basis. His name was Derek, and he would often go and play golf. And he would say, hey, Phasing, how's it going? And why did this work for me? Because I was not some stuck-up lawyer that was in my boots, that, I know best. And I was just natural, I was friendly, and I treated him as a normal person. And I did exactly the same with the British High Commissioner when we went to this Carol's event, and I wanted to meet him because I wanted to talk to him about coaching. Now, how the hell do you approach the British High Commissioner. And someone said to me, look, Faison, this is a carol singing event at Christmas. He doesn't really want to, be addressed as the British High Commissioner. Just go and say hi. So the more natural, the more genuine you are, the better. It will work for you when you are looking to genuinely build a relationship, and you find those conversations that you've done your research and you know what's interesting. I knew I knew already that the VP of BG enjoyed playing golf. I knew that he liked his spicy chicken. So I went in with that, right? Very cool, very casual. I didn't have my business card sitting in my wet, sweaty palm. No, just be yourself and be natural. And believe me, it will rain. If you choose this way of doing things, it will rain.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Faison. I'm going to read the last question, but I'll just say that I'm a foodie as well, so this resonates. I like talking about food. But the last question is from someone who's asking, how do you handle a rude and unfriendly client?
Well, first, I guess you have to ask yourself the question that why are they rude and friendly? Have I sort of rocked the boat a little bit? Am I being too pushy? Am I sounding desperate? Why are they behaving in that way? And of course, then it really is to be the bigger person, right? I've had clients, I've had some funny things that have happened to me that I would love to share with all of you. But one of them, I got in trouble once because I was talking to a guy and his wife came up behind me and she thought I was trying to chat the guy up. And, I'm just trying to make business here. And ever so rude. But it is our job as professionals in our industry, because people do talk. And let's not forget that, right? The world is small. People will talk about you and word gets around. And we have to also be careful of that with speaking about other law firms. Never, ever, ever speak badly about other law firms. But if you do find yourself in that position, I have always taken the professional stance. If I feel that I need to apologize, I will. I will always say that, look, can we start this conversation again? Or, there is one client that, it was very, very hard, but I kept going back to them and I said, look, let me buy you coffee. Let's clear the air. Because you want to find out, why are they rude, right? Have you come on too strong? That you've got to look at both sides and understand. And, sometimes people are just prickly. You have different people, different clients from different countries, different cultures, sometimes people look at Russians, for example, they're very cold. And we see that to be, that they're rude, but they're actually not. So are they actually being rude, or is that our perception of them? Because people are just different, right? And we take it as something else. But I think naturally people wouldn't just be rude for no reason. So we have to look at that and then embrace it and be the bigger person, I feel.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you so much, Faison. I think just before I say thank you to you, I'll just make a couple of announcements. Again, please connect with Faison after this class. I know that she dropped a lot of knowledge, a lot of nuggets, and we all want to connect with her. So please connect with her after the class. The links are posted. I think we'll also send an email with the links as well. And a recording of today's session will be on the SBL website. So you can always go back and refresh your memory. Next week's session is going to be on the budgets, and that's hosted by the Taxation Committee. So again, please sign up for that. We also have an interesting session on Saturday, exploring the impact of ChatGPT on the future of work. Faison talked about that. It's topical, everyone's talking about it. So you should know a bit about it so that even if you're not necessarily doing AI right now, you can go out and have a conversation because it's all very interesting. So there's a Twitter space on Saturday at 7 p.m. on the impact of ChatGPT-3 on the future of work. Yes. And so with that, just to say on behalf of the chairman of council and everyone who joined today's session, thank you so much, Faison. The session was practical, like it was down to earth. I loved it when you said that you should get comfortable with being a little bit uncomfortable. And I think that for me is my takeaway from this. And that's going to be my watchword for the year. I will commit on behalf of everyone that has attended this session to follow up better. African law firms, we've been charged. We will follow up better. We'll respond to emails and all of that. But thank you so much for coming to speak to us. We've enjoyed this session, and we hope that we will get to talk to you again sometime soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I will now bring the session to a close. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Faison. Amazing session.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone.